Welcome back to UrbanX TV. We have the Black Dot in the building with you guys for a special airing that Black Dot had to get some thoughts off his chest. This is as a result of the Jay-Z verse dropping, right? Recently, last Friday, off Khaled's album God Did, and it stirred up a lot of discussion. Greatest verse ever. All those things that were talked about before the verse even came out. But as the verse came out, everybody had their thoughts and were sharing their thoughts. So a lot of people were anticipating you giving your thoughts on this. So here we are.
Yes, and I wanted to do this because on the podcast, I don't want to eat up a lot of time on the podcast. Peace to everybody. This is the Black Dot. I appreciate your continued support for what we do. The first thing I want to say is tune into our podcast, UrbanX podcast at urbanx.nyc. Hit the link below, the #1 father and son podcast in the multiverse. And the reason we had to go private is due to the nature of some of the things that we discuss. You know how censorship is, YouTube and things of that nature. And as a result, even me sitting down doing this piece, I'm going to navigate, hop around, and leave some things open for speculation. With that being said, I've been doing pieces or giving my thoughts on Jay-Z for 20 years. The first piece I did was a New York rhyme story for a local newspaper called Four Corners, which was 20 years ago this year, January 2002, in which I spoke and chronicled the takeover of New York City by Jay-Z after the passing of Biggie, and I crafted it into a rhyme story, crime syndicate piece, which involved Fat Joe, Nas, a few other people, Jadakiss, a few other people who were vying for to be the king of New York. And Jay-Z is the one who succeeded in taking over New York and eventually taking over the world as one of the most premier artists of our day and time. I want to get some things out of the way really quick. There's also been recent talk about, is Jay-Z the greatest ever? And by the standards that we would use, I would have to say he is. The criteria being used is, if we're talking, can he flow, can he rhyme? There's no question. The double, triple entendres, flow, inside, outside, tight. Can he make hits? I think he's proven over the course of his career that he can make hits. Does he have the hardware to show that he can make these hits? He does. Over 22 Grammys at the current moment. When we speak about longevity, he came in the game in 96, really came in about 88 with Jazzo, but his personal run from 96 to now was still up and running. Does he have influence, and has he influenced the game? I think there's no question when it came to the street talk, even fashion in certain aspects. Jay-Z's influence has been truly, truly great. Does he have the money to show? Obviously, he's a Billy. He touched the Billy. So I would have to say that. And to throw icing on the cake, if we're talking about his girl has got her own thing going. She's a power in her own right. So using those criteria, now there will be hip-hop purists who say, wait a minute, Dot, it should be about this and that. And I'm not here to argue any of those points, because all of those points are valid. But when we cross all the T's, dot the I's, if that's going to be the criteria, can he rhyme, longevity, Grammys, influence, money, girl, helping other people, I think Jay-Z has eclipsed most. His greatest competition, in my humble opinion, would be Kanye West. But Kanye's flow would not compare to Jay-Z, but his influence, his style, he's a producer, he's an artist, his monetary gain. So Kanye would probably be somebody we would throw in that conversation in the grand scheme of things. So I wanted to get that out of the way first. I do think Jay-Z is an incredible artist. So now I got to get that out of the way for the stands. You stands can now log off. We'll give you a second. because I don't want you to be like I didn't show Jay his praise and things of that nature. When we speak about Jay-Z, before we even get to the rhyme, I'm calling this, did Jay-Z drop the greatest rhyme of the decade or the century? The reference on rhyme and C in front of it, because a lot of, when we begin to peel back these layers, a lot of activity performed by Jay-Z is criminal. All right, so let's just, call it for what it is. Jay-Z has made the double and triple entendre something to behold. And when we speak about double and triple entendres, when it comes to a flow, you may arrive at a certain place in that flow based on where you're vibrating that forces you to go left, so that you may continue the journey of the rhyme and you come up with your own speculations. I may go right, I may pick up a different piece of that, which takes me a whole different end result of the rhyme. And then there are levels even above that that some have spoken of that are just for the crew. I've heard Guru, his a phenomenal engineer, shout out to Guru. I'm not sure he'll be happy with this piece I'm putting up, but that's neither here or there. I respect him as a man in his own right. So the purpose of the entendre is to never pin anybody down and show the complexity of words, and words opening up doorways to other thought processes, which you can arrive at many different endings to a particular rhyme. But Jay-Z himself is a double and triple entendre. And this is what I mean by that. For the average person, they may see Jay-Z as a successful businessman who came from the hood, who fought poverty, who overcame this and that to become a billionaire and influence the world, and you would be correct. On the second level, there are rooms that and meetings that Jay-Z is allowed in, that not even his boys are allowed in, because they haven't reached the financial status that he has. And these meetings take place, and these meetings may be to craft out the next 6 to 8 months, a couple of years, on what he's going to say that's going to be influential, where people can benefit, or where this culture is going. And then there's the level in which he takes oaths. And we all understand what the oath is, and that's the even higher level of the game, which will determine what his or who his allegiance is to. And if you're vibrating on that level, each and every one of you are correct. That's the beautiful thing about the entendres. There is no wrong answer to it. It's what you perceive and what you pick up. Early on, I picked up the oath aspect because I felt that there was no way an individual of his status could have carte blanche the way he does and move about the way he does without him getting some help. And what I mean by that is this: if you follow Jay-Z's blueprint, you are going to jail. I'm going to say that again for all you young people. If you following Jay-Z's blueprint, you are going to jail. Jay-Z is the exception to the rule, if there is such. And what I mean by that is, if he went to do a conference, a business conference, and the first thing came out his mouth was, I took drug money and I laundered it, well, that's a federal offense. And that also leans into the RICO laws, which means if they can prove $1 of that money has led to his billion-dollar empire, they can take it all. So he would never, in his right mind, get in front of an audience of people, so you think, and send them down that path. But that's exactly what he's done. Over the last 30 years, the subject matter has not changed. He has taken drug money and he has flipped it, and he came out squeaky clean. Now, you got to ask yourself, we all know drug kingpins. No matter where you at in the world right now, we all got our local guys who blew up. All of them have either went to jail or died or turned informant. So you mean to tell me he came out the game squeaky clean, not Nicky Barnes, not Bumpy Johnson, not a Frank Lucas, not anybody, but he came out squeaky clean. There's something that should send off a red flag to those who are vibrating on a higher frequency, right? Now, he'll tell you that his boys, the reason he came out squeaky clean is because his boys Emery and Calvin Klein, and they took the rap for him because when he was in a sticky situation, they knew that he was the one who had the shining light. So they went and did the time, 10 years plus, knowing that when they got out, he would take care of them. Okay, let's just say that's true. What are the chances of you having a crew that tight who is going to do 10, 15 years for you in hopes that your man blow up and take care of you when he come out? So if you just listen to the story, you know that the story doesn't make any kind of sense unless Jay-Z is working with them boys. And I'm not talking feds. I'm talking them boys, the ones who are above the feds, the ones who can take a goyim as powerful as Jay-Z and mold that goyim into anything they want, and he operates above the law. Just think about it. He just got sanctioned, him and his wife, to go to Cuba when we had embargoes, and he has demonstrated over the course of time that he has some clout somewhere. Now, I want you to think about what I'm saying in great detail, because a lot of these boys, their bloodline, they changed their names along the way, but they go all the way back to the Rothschilds and beyond that. And they understand the magnificent power of a super goyim, right? The one who has the ability to galvanize people, to move energy, move minds, and move thought any way they so please. And they use that goyim to their benefit as long as you are in compliance. Now, if anytime the goyim gets out of compliance and wants to start thinking for his or herself, you know what usually happens. Look at what happened to Prince. Look what happened to Michael Jackson. Look what happened to Whitney Houston. Look what happened to Sam Cooke. The list goes on and on and on. And if for some reason Jay-Z think he's going to leave this realm with his catalog, I'll be very impressed, right? So understand what's going on. Jay-Z, that rhyme he just kicked was not for 45 to 50-year-olds who understand the intricacies of life is more than chasing material objects. That's why you shouldn't get offended. The rhyme was for young people. The rhyme was to keep young people's mind chasing a goddamn illusion. That's why I'm calling this the crime of the century, because the industrial prison system has benefited greatly by this kind of talk. And that talk is get that drug money, flip that drug money into real business, and become Jay-Z. He is obviously the exception to that rule. Now, the prison complex, the privatizing of prisons, and the brothers and sisters who are filling those prisons, the soundtrack to their lives, Jay-Z has a great part in that. And if you disagree with that, then you're not understanding the power of words, the power of music, the power of sound, the power of vibration, the power of the subconscious mind, and all of those things that go along with that. Now, you may say, well, Jay-Z he did a documentary on Khalif Browder. He's helped a few people out, and he's got Meek Mill out of jail. All of that's true. All of that goes back to the first level of the entendre, which is to make him appear to be noble. Look at what he's doing. But look at the trade-off. There's so many more that wind up in prison, millions, by trying to follow this blueprint, and they're not intelligent enough, and they're not working with them boys, right? So therefore, that's the trade-off when it comes to that. Also, Jay-Z could be noble. You could say, well, if he gives $1 million to a cause, wow, that's a great thing. Well, if he's worth $1 billion, then $1 million is 1%. He's given 1%. He's going to bring the press out. They're going to do a press release. And in your mind, that $1 million is great. You, on the other hand, could donate your time every weekend to the homeless and give your money. And it may equate to 40% of your salary, your time, and your energy. Is his contributions greater than yours? And if you say they are, then I know where you're resonating at, right? So don't allow the numbers to screw you and confuse you. It's sort of like when Jay-Z said, he owns the Brooklyn Nets, and come to find out he owns less than 1%. So he gets on that mic, and he can tell you anything he wants to tell you because Jay-Z is selling a product. I'm going to say it again. He's selling a product. And that product is crime, drugs, and if you lucky, you may end up where he is. But the problem, you got a better chance of going to NBA than being and doing what Jay-Z's done. That's point blank. It's only a few moguls that they allow to operate. Even his boy, Sean Diddy Combs. All right, we understand he's also working with them boys. Has to be. He served Biggie up on a platter, allegedly. And if you're using any of your scruples, you know he served that boy up on a platter to heighten his own career and his career takeoff. And y'all walk around and praise these individuals who have killed the culture. This has become about a money grab. So stop being impressed when we see one or two of our so-called celebrities, because where was they during our worst time? Did you hear from Jay-Z during our worst time, the last couple of years we've been through, to come out and tell us it's going to be all right? No, right? So they weren't about themselves. So now it's business as usual. So I got to lay this into the pretext because it's deeper than a rhyme. This is about crime, all right? So understand, when the whole story is being told, Jay-Z is going to have a great influence on the minds of young people. Now, Doc, stop right there. Are you saying young people shouldn't go out and get that money? That's not what I'm saying. Yes, you should, but in a capitalist society, if all I'm going to talk about is capitalism, then obviously this is going to resonate with a greater amount of people. And those are the people who need hope, not the people who are going out to try to get it on their own. These people, they need hope. And Jay-Z provides just that. It's a hope, it's a dream, it's a myth. It's smoke and mirrors. It's an illusion. It's not, and he's too old for that shit. And that's the point that's pissing me off. Nigga, you ain't sold drugs in over 30 years. If your story pans out, I don't think it does. Everybody around you went to jail except you? That don't sound right. All right? And we know DeHaven has already spoken his piece that it's almost impossible for these phone wires to be tapped and your voice not to be on any of them. I don't know if y'all remember the story about the secret meeting in hip-hop in which there was some executives in that room and some people they had never seen before, very high up, was speaking about what the next 10, 15 to 20 years of hip-hop was going to be. And it was going to be them flooding hip-hop with crime, drugs, murder talk, all of these things so that they can fill up these prisons and make all the money that they need to make. I personally think Jay-Z and Sean Diddy were in that room. These are two untouchables among others. Untouchables when it comes to hip-hop and it comes to these influences and things of that nature. So I want to lay that into a pretext because what Jay-Z has done is truly a crime against humanity for those who know that it's much deeper than just some material shit. You mean to tell me this nigga sat around on his yacht drinking champagne or whatever, thinking about what he can say to the people to move the tectonic plates of reality, to shape the minds, to give a positive message to young boys and girls who are trying to come up and you rhyme Hove with stove, at this point in your career, you did that. And for a lot of people, oh my God, it's the greatest rhyme I've ever heard. Well, let's get into the rhyme itself.
So what did you think about it?
First of all, if you told me, which happened, that Jay-Z just dropped his greatest verse ever, people in the chat, people around the world, the first thing that should come to your mind is, well, I already know what he's going to talk about. He's going to talk about bricks, him being a billionaire, you not being a billionaire, he's greater than you, and all the people he's done help along the way. Well, he hit all of those checkpoints. So when people tell me that the rhyme was something extraordinary, we already know he can flow. We already know he got double and triple entendres. So where was the rhyme different? It's like if you told me Steph Curry is going to have his greatest game ever. Well, he already holds the record for three-pointers. So let's say the record is 12. I think it's 13 by Clay. But let's say the first thing that come to my mind is Steph is going to probably have 23s, right? But it's going to be what we already expected. Now, if I turned on ESPN and Steph had 25 rebounds, I go, holy shit. That's something I didn't see coming. Now, that's a great game, but we already know Jay-Z was going to compile on what he already does. The first alarming thing was, why was two other people on that song? That was the first thing. After hearing him spit 80 bars, why did he have Rick Ross and Lil Wayne on that song? There was no place for them if you're going to spit 80 bars. Right now, I already know Jay-Z, 80, that's 8. We know he deals with that number 4 and 4. It dropped on the 26th of August. That's an 8. The 8th month is August. We know we got that in there. Rick Ross represents Biggie in a sense. You know, a lot of people compare him and Biggie said kick in the door, repping the 4-4. So we have a lot of double and triple entendres just in that. I thought Lil Wayne might represent a young Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Who people thought would take over Jay-Z's throne. You know what I'm saying? It could also represent like some Big L energy in there. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the two people that I felt had to be moved out of the way. Doesn't mean Jay-Z wouldn't have been phenomenal. Biggs and Big L. Go listen to the tapes. You know what I mean? These were problems. So Jay-Z spitting 80 bars, it's like he buried them purposely. Right? Now, I'm going to ask you, just be honest. If I put Jay-Z on the track and gave him 16 bars, and Kendrick Lamar and gave him 16 bars, their bars would be dope. If I gave Nas 80 bars at the end of that, we'd be talking about Nas today. Mm-hmm. All right?
Yeah.
80 bars. Do you know what 80 bars is?
Yeah, that's like 2 songs.
Fuck, it's 2.5 songs.
Yeah.
Right? If you kick 2 16s and a hook, and this song had hooks. Yeah. So I was confused in reference to why so many bars. You know what I'm saying? With other people on the song. Should have just did the song by himself unless there's some kind of ritual taking place with Rick Ross and Lil Wayne in the grand scheme of things. Shit, if I gave KRS-One 80 bars, do you know what he would do? You know what I mean? So Jay-Z, because of the language he speaks, these boys allow him to move around because he benefits their cause. Someone like KRS-One would never even achieve that level of fame and status because it's not written in the codes. Look what happened in the 80s, bro. I keep referring to it, but you had the Brand Nubians, X-Clan, Public Enemy, Poor Righteous Teachers, KRS-One with the Stop the Violence movement. You had a real movement about to take place, and them boys will not let that continue, so they had to kill that, bring in money, hoes, and clothes. So did Jay-Z say some clever shit? Of course. He's always going to say something real clever, but it took him 80 bars. And to me, that was a level of insecurity on his point. You know what I mean?
Well, the two, Wayne and Ross, they did well in their own right.
That's what my point. So yeah. it only took Wayne 16 to get off. Mm-hmm. It took Rick Ross 16 to get off. For Jay-Z to have to do 5 times the amount of bars, right? So that's like if I get 10 free throws, I make 6. You get 100 free throws, and you make 62. Oh, you know what I mean? Guess who's going to win the goddamn game? So the game is rigged. He started speaking about all the millionaires he made. You know what I'm saying? Hove did. Lord, forgive me for what the stove did. So obviously he's not talking about the oven. He's talking about the stovetop. You know what I'm saying? We was cooking up that shit, right? And, you know, how many billionaires came out of Hove's crib? He counts 3. Ree, Jay's, him, and Kanye. Well, did he help Rihanna sell underwear and perfume?
I guess came from his branch.
Okay.
You know.
Okay, but that's technically speaking.
Yeah,
he saved the technical shit for the last piece, but technically she didn't sell $1 million worth of records.
Facts.
Right? But she got her shit once she got in the door. He didn't even like Kanye.
Right.
He wanted Kanye to just be a producer. If we being technical.
Right.
He didn't want to give him no rock chain and turn. You see the documentary, the shit Kanye had to go through. So technically Dame Dash made Kanye a billionaire. If we want to get technical, you know what I'm saying? The one who truly gave him a platform to really express himself. Jay-Z ain't want no parts of that. And then when he saw Kanye blowing, you know what I'm saying? Then he decided to align himself, as he always does, with those who are moving with the light. Now, when it comes to LeBron, nigga, you wasn't with him shooting in the gym. You was not with him shooting in the gym, so for you to call him a rock boy, and I get it, he's a rock boy. The basketball, we call that a rock. So, you know, LeBron is a rock boy in a whole nother sense since we talking double and triple entendres. He talking about, you know, we was getting it out the mud, and, well, mud spelled backwards is dumb. Right? So you niggas is the dumb ones. Because mud is also what God used to shape and mold man in one of those biblical scriptures. Since we want to start talking double and triple entendres, and you have been the mud, the mold in which he's created this reality, which puts him way above anybody and everybody else. Even stovetop. Shit, stovetop. What you make of the stovetop? I think stovetop, what? Stuffing? Stuffing, you put that inside of what? A fucking turkey, right? You niggas is turkeys. JC's got so much inside, outside, backward shit going with him. You know what I'm saying? Hove did, like, you know, it's so much. Hove is big. He said that. Hove big. I heard that. What is Hove big? Are you taking over Biggs and Tundra? The fact that you are morphing into someone else, I find to be very, very amazing. You know what I mean? So when we start speaking about the greatest crime of the decade or the century, Jay-Z would have to be up there with his catalog. And I thought the 444 was an amazing album.
I love that album.
It was because it was honest. Because to me, it was honest. It had a lot of truth to it. It was not a lot of flashy talk. You know, he's going to throw that in there. And it represents to me what a 55-year-old man, because I'm 54, he got to be at least 52, 53, should be talking about. The very fact that you're still making music, talking about bricks and billionaires at your age is either very shallow for somebody of his magnitude, or it's by design. And that's design is to keep the people here focused on financial, you know what I'm saying, material things, chasing that illusion, because if you follow his blueprint, you are going to jail. I don't care what anybody say. That's jail time, bro. That's laundering, that's RICO. But why is he able to continue when they charging rappers now for speaking shit on wax? How come he's able to say all of that shit? Even in 444, you know what I'm saying, when he said, you know, please don't die over the neighborhood that your mama written. Take your drug money and buy the neighborhood. That's how you rents it. Okay, these are This is not something you tell a 15-year-old kid
Right.
that you're trying to steer away from, because the drug game is not what it used to be. This is not the 80s and 90s anymore.
Yeah.
The level of surveillance, what they're doing to our brothers and sisters, it is a crime for you to get on that platform and speak that piece in that magnitude. So I like Jay-Z. I think he has great potential. I've been at it with Jay for 20 years. And I think I have been actually honest and fair overall. When he does something great, I'll be like, that's great. But no man is above reproach. And because I don't want anything from Jay-Z, I don't want a deal. I don't want to go to the rock brunch and none of that kind of shit. I can be as unbiased as possible. I represent 54-year-old men who have children. I represent the 54-year-old men who are out in these hoods and watching these young dudes who don't believe in education at all. And I'm not saying you should believe in the school system, but knowledge of self is wherever you go. So they don't believe in any of that. They're bypassing that. They're doing credit card schemes. They're robbing you. They're selling drugs. They're moving guns. They're moving trafficking, all so that they can have a moment on the grand to represent their God. And when we speak of Jay-Z being God, Jehovah, right? There are many levels to God. There are those who think God is on the outside of him. God is the esoteric principles on the inside. You are God. So there are double and triple entendres in everything about Jay-Z that he does. So if you believe that this man got it out the mud, you know what I'm saying, on his own, and there are no strings attached, good for you. If you know that there are rooms he walk into that you can't walk into and you don't know what's going on with the direction of the people that he's privy to, good for you. If you understand that this man has taken some oaths because he's rolling with them boys who are above the feds, who run the music industry and have been running the music, fashion, and all those industries for years, and go back hundreds of years, then good for you. This is not one of them things to put you in a box. And we know in ancient Rome, to distract the people, give them circus and wine. And if you look at hip hop today, and if you tell me it's not a circus, and all of them sell what now, Malcolm?
Liquor.
All of them sell liquor and wine to keep you distracted, right? So this message is for those who think that Jay-Z just dropped the greatest rhyme ever. I mean, 80 bars is a lot of bars to say you're a billionaire, you move bricks, I made other people rich. All right, that's all I want to say about that. You already know what it is. Tune in, UrbanX.NYC for our podcast. It is hard-hitting. It is a father and son podcast that goes hard like no other. If you like what you hear in here, we take it up a whole nother level on our podcast because it's private and we can do what it is that we want to do. So with that being said, this is the Black Dot. These are my chronicles. This is my story, and I'm going to stick to it. Peace.
Peace. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Later.